Thursday, January 28th, 2010. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Angelpont?
Here.
Mr. Bray?
Here.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Farnham?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin?
Present.
President Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Landry?
Here.
Dr. Mackey? Mr. McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Spell?
Here.
Mr. Stelly?
Here.
Mr. Sias?
Present.
Mrs. Trimmy?
Here.
And Chairman Hassan.
Here.
Everyone's present.
Item number 3, receive report from staff with reference to the proposed development of the property adjacent to Highway 171 boat launch and consideration of making a recommendation with reference to approving a project management schedule for the development. Mr. Beam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would direct your attention to the attachment number 3 in your binder. This actually is, I think it probably should read Old Highway 171 boat launch, but we have a working title of River Bluff Park, which just so we can refer to it. This is the property, of course. It's about 26 acres up in Ward 1, all surrounding the Old Highway 171 boat launch. We want to propose to you tonight as a committee that you review, not recommend a final project set of milestones tonight, but just to put it in front of you for approval next Thursday at your regular meeting. We give you a week to sort of mull over this, and if you have any changes, we certainly can introduce those. This proposed set of milestones and schedule for this, we've used the Parish Lake Park process as a benchmark and made some modifications to that based on this particular situation, but it's very similar. For those of you who were here then and went through that, you'll recall that. I'll try to just hit the high points and the basis for what we want to do, and then, of course, take any questions, and Alan is very familiar with this as well. We worked on that together. And this is both the timeline and the structure of what would be a advisory task force of citizens. So with that, I'll just quickly go through. You can see each of the items has a corresponding date. The ones that are most immediate that we are asking you to approve would be next Thursday at your regular meeting, and that would be a structure for the Citizens Advisory Group to work with you in coming up with what they call program elements or park elements. That's basically, what do you want in the park kind of thing, and an overall theme. And it's just to get that input to you as a body. And that's really the first thing that we need to get kicked off so that you have time to get some names and so forth. And we certainly want to encourage all of you to consider names and to put forth for this. We also feel like next Thursday you could appoint, the President could appoint one or multiple liaisons for this to represent you in this process. And as a general plan, what we wanted to do is do what they call an RFQ, or request for qualifications, fairly early on for an architect and design team. This would probably, it would be very likely. I think we want to encourage some creativity and teams put together for this. Unlike what we did for Parish Lake Park, which is more of almost like a contest, if you will, which this would be more of selecting through an RFQ process. Just show us the things that you've done, and then it comes back to you for a final approval on who that would be. And you actually select a firm up front who works with the staff and with the selected advisory group or advisory task force on developing these park elements. So we're kind of accelerating the selection of an architect firm and whoever does that. And you can see the timelines. I won't go through each item, but that basically group and the design firm would work together, ultimately come back to you, the design firm, with what they learned from the citizens group, and try to come back to you with conceptual design that you would ultimately approve, and then that's followed by a detailed design phase, and then park construction. So the only other thing I'll mention, and then if y'all have any questions, is the bottom part is the proposed structure of that task force. we felt like it was a very good model for Prien Lake Park. We didn't want to tamper with that too much. The only difference you'll really see is we have a general recreation and fishing interest. I think at the time it was Coastal Conservation Association, which was more saltwater, but that was just a minor change to that list, and it would encompass 16 people total. And keeping in mind our discussions earlier that this would be considered just like Prien Lake, it's very large, very beautiful property. It is a parish-wide scale, so you want a mixture of certainly residents in that area, but also at-large positions, and just representing a good cross-section of stakeholders, if you will. They're good for ideas, and they come with different points of view, and it all ends up going in the mix, coming out and having a better product. But it's very similar to what we did for Prien Lake Park, so we felt like we could just use a model that's worked before. And with that, I'll just go ahead and see if y'all have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Brian. First of all, do I have a motion to receive report?
Move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. We have discussion. Mr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beam, have we put any money aside yet, or are we going to do that this year and next year? I guess gaming funds is how we're going to pay for this.
We did budget money, Mr. Landry, for this property, looking at hopefully getting pretty heavy into the design phase, at least later in the year. So we are able to start this year on spending some money in that side of things, with the thought that the primary construction, whenever it began, would more be in 2011. And of course, this could be multiple phases. Depends on what y'all come up with, or what the task force comes up with.
Any idea of what the costs are going to be? $5 million?
Not yet. I think it gets clearer as we go along, and depending on what you want to do, we feel like we haven't done this yet. We do need to try to give some parameters to the task force. You know, you don't want a Astroworld or something like that. I'm exaggerating, but at least it gets them down to that level. But we haven't really set. You got this much to spend. The sooner we start getting the parameters, the better. But right now, we really haven't set that.
So I guess the total length, what do you see? 5 years, maybe, by the time everything would be completed, or?
Yes, I think that's reasonable. If it were multi-phase, it may not take that long, depending on the nature of it. I don't want to go out too far. Y'all have your own views, but we've seen this as a little bit more of a serene area. It's not necessarily an urban environment. It may not be quite as intense as far as multiple buildings that you rent out and have a lot of traffic, but so it may not be quite as. Plus, you have such beautiful, natural already environment there that you really wouldn't want to get rid of. And I know Al and his staff are already in the middle of some work on wetlands delineation. They're doing topographical surveys, identifying trees over 6 inches in diameter to make sure we preserve the natural beauty up there. So it is different. It's not really apples to apples completely with Prien Lake Park.
I think Mark had a comment.
I was just going to add maybe the one similarity between Prien Lake Park is the notion that this is probably going to be an evolutionary development. As we've seen Prien Lake Park, we did part of it, and then we came back and we added some amenities to it. I think there's still some hope that additional amenities will be added over a period of time, and so it's kind of hard to determine. I think we've got money budgeted this year that will take us through this design process and paying for that, but as far as the development of the park, that's going to be evolutionary, and it's probably going to be done on a phase type basis, and those phases are going to coincide with y'all's willingness to appropriate money over a period of time to do the development. It's not going to be that we're going to cut the ribbon on the park and it's going to be complete. I think it's going to be segments will be complete in somewhat of an evolutionary fashion.
How long was Prien Lake Park? What was that, 8 years, 9 years? I don't know.
Yeah, from the time that we bought it, I mean, there were probably as many as 5 years or so before we started the development of it, because we were, In that case, we were starting from scratch with no money, and so you began putting money up over a period of time so that the first phase could be significant.
And then Rita hit.
Yeah, right, and then you had the storm, so.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 4, receive report from staff on projected timeline.
Mr. Beam had comments.
Excuse me, Mr.
Sorry.
Chairman, I'm sorry. I just want to be clear that y'all are comfortable with the motion, that we're not asking the committee to recommend this tonight because we want to make sure you get time to look at it for a week and then ask the full body next week to approve. If that's what the motion was, I just wanted to clarify.
Very good. Item number 4, receive report from staff on projected timeline for renovations to the 901 building. Mr. McMurray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This too, to use the word I used a while ago, this was kind of evolutionary in itself. We talked about the DA moving into that building. In the course of discussing and how we would go about doing that, we've had some additional tenants move in. We got the Coast Guard that has moved in, and there are some renovations that they're requiring. In meeting with the architectural firm, it's become clear to us that the best bang for our buck is to place the renovations under a single contract. What you don't want is you don't want simultaneous jobs going on with different contractors bumping into each other in the same building. That could be a fiasco for everybody, tenants, contractors, everybody. That's made the whole plan preparation a little longer than what we had hoped it would be, but we're right at the point of being able to move forward with that. One wrinkle got thrown into one part of that we do need to break out, and if he had to break a part out, this would be the part probably that you could successfully do that with, and that's the elevator system. The elevator system, when we bought the building, we knew it was not in as good a shape as what you would hope that it would be, but it's an old system. It's been there since the building was built. And we have continued to make small repairs to keep it going. Within the last several weeks, that's gone south. Those elevators are in bad shape and they need to be replaced. We've got a pretty big number for that. What we've asked Dean to do is to get with the engineering firm that's worked with us on those elevators, separate that out, and you'll see on your agenda, not for the Public Works Committee, but for your agenda for next week's meeting, you'll see on there 2 items related to the elevators. One, to go ahead and formalize the agreement with the engineering firm that's working on our behalf to produce the special bid documents, and 2, to authorize the bids for that so that we can get those immediately done and get those elevators, get the process of replacing them or repairing them, doing whatever it is they're going to do to them to bring them up to top quality, get that done in as quick a time as possible. As far as the improvements beyond just the elevator thing, the timeline, it will be something like this. We plan to ask you at your February 18th meeting for authority to advertise for bids. We believe that by March 22nd, the plans will be ready to actually begin the bid process. That will mean that we should be able to receive bids on the building by April the 22nd, somewhere, and this is all give or take a few days. We think we can award the contract if those bids are accepted and opened by the end of April. We believe we'd be able to, unless there's some real problems with the bids, which we wouldn't anticipate, but if there were, that could throw a monkey wrench into this. But assuming they're okay, we feel like we'd be ready to have you award the contract at your meeting in May, which I believe is May 6th. Contracts would go out the next day, and it takes sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to get a contract like this back because they've got to get their performance bonds, payment bonds lined up and all that. So that could be May the 24th with a notice to proceed. What we've requested, this project's going to be a little different than a lot of projects that we deal with because there's going to be a little bit of a musical chairs going on here. The DA will be occupying the first floor, the majority of the first floor, all of floor 6, all of floor 7, and all of floor 8. Floor 7 currently is filled with the public defender's office, and I think most of us would understand that the public defender's office shouldn't be sandwiched in between floors of the district attorney's office, given the fact that they're pretty much on opposite sides of most of the things that they do. We've negotiated with the public defender's office to move their operation from this building to the Wasey building, which is currently occupied by part of the DA's office. Well, we can't do that simultaneously. So the plan would be that by mid to late September, even though this project will not be complete by the end, in fact, they're estimating a total completion of the contract by the end of this year. They believe, because there's very little renovation to be done to the 6th floor, that we can get the DA probably by the end of the third quarter into the 6th floor, which will allow him to free up the space in the Wasey building where the public defender's office will move to. And that then will free up the 7th floor so the contractor can do what he needs to do in the 7th floor to make it ready for the DA's operation. And of course, the 8th floor is basically gutted. That'll be all new renovations to that. So I've talked to Mr. DeRosier. He is fully aware of and supportive of the notion that they're going to have to move in pieces. They're not going to be, ideally, they could move their whole office over there in one fell swoop. That can't happen because of having to get the PDO out and move them over to the Wasey building. One other little component in this is the phone system. We have our phone system is really a top-of-the-line system. It's computerized. Obviously, any office that the parish puts over there, along with the DA's office, has access to that system, but we've got to get the cable into the building that or work with Suddenlink to utilize their services to do that. And there is a redundant server, which I think is called a call manager, that is with our OEP group over at the 911 building. That will have to be relocated over to this building. So it gives us time during the period here between the notice to proceed in May and the DA making his first portion of the move in September. It gives us time to relocate the phone server. So I think the schedule looks pretty good. Like all schedules, it's subject to a lot of different things. Hopefully there won't be any problems with the bids. They'll be clear. There won't be any discrepancies that we'll need to take more time to sort out. And if there aren't any of those problems, I think the time frame is pretty good. I've met with the architect on it, and we feel like that this is good. Alan Smith and I met with the DA yesterday and went over some of the issues that I've just discussed, and I feel like they understand our situation, and they know we're working as quickly as we can to get them in there. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
At this time, do I have a motion to receive report?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Farnham, second by Dr. Mackey. Discussion, Mr. Stelly.
Mark, the 8th floor you say was completely gutted, so there's going to be a lot of structural work going on that floor. The other floors that the DA's office is going to occupy, is this primarily cosmetic stuff or what not exactly, but can you give us an idea of what kind of work is going to be done?
Yeah, it's a little bit different degrees. Most of it is cosmetic. It's a cleaning up in some cases. An example is on the 6th floor, the office structure on that floor is very, very easily accommodating what the DA's needs are going to be for that floor. The one thing that is going to be a little bit different is that's where the grand jury room will be located. There's a couple of minor things that need to be done to make that room able to accommodate the grand jury. For instance, they'll have to put some little lights outside in the hall like you would find in a TV station when they're on the air. When the grand jury meets, it's very confidential, and they will have lights in the hall that when the grand jury is meeting in that room will signify to anybody in the hall that that's going on in there and they need to stay away. That's just one example. I think there's a door in one of the hallways there that will either the door needs to be taken out or there needs to be a door put in, but it's relatively minor on the 6th floor. The 7th floor, where the PDO is set up now for office suites for attorneys. They're just public defender attorneys, the DA's attorneys. So the belief is that other than just cleaning up, replacing some of the carpet in some of the areas, maybe where it's too worn or whatever, there isn't a whole lot to do the 7th floor. The 8th floor and the 1st floor are going to probably require the greatest amount of work. But as part of this contract, totally unrelated to the district attorney's move, there's going to be other things going on like new fire alarm systems, and we're going to put some new lighting in that burns more efficiently so as to affect positively our light bill. And there's some air conditioning issues, some of the fans related to the air conditioning. If I get too specific on that, I'm going to be I'm not going to understand what I'm saying. But it's those kind of technical things that will be part of this that will serve the building as a whole, as well as the DA, because he's going to be in it. It's just like the elevator thing. Well, everybody's going to be happy to have new elevators, and the DA isn't going to want to be in a building where the elevators are acting like they're acting right now. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as the DA's move, my understanding is the 1st floor and the 8th floor will receive the greatest amount of actual renovation expense. The 6th and 7th floor is going to be relatively minor. That's why they can move into the 6th floor probably rather quickly after the contract.
So the furnishings, is he going to be able to use the furnishings that are currently in his building, or are we going to purchase furnishings?
No, we're not going to. He may purchase some furniture. We're not going to purchase furniture. It'll probably be a combination, Tony. I think he'll probably use a lot that he's got, and probably have to buy some depending on the configuration of where people are, what offices they're going into. Maybe a left-hand return won't work, and
so we're going to try to do this with minimal pain, is what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Expense-wise, and we're going to try to keep the budget low and
yes,
get by with just the dire necessities on this deal.
yes, sir. On our end now,
Our
as
end.
far as furnishings and stuff, that'll be really his prerogative. We have encouraged him, and I think they're very fine with this proposal for them to be on the same phone system we're on. That will save them some significant dollars. Dean met with some of the representatives today on that, as well as our IS people, and I think that's going to be a savings to them because they can be on that same system and don't have to have their own, maybe what last generation called PBX or the brains of the system. We've already got that, so it's just a matter of them putting the units out on the desk and plugging them in.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Stelly. Mr. Spell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, would you mind faxing the jury a copy of that proposed schedule? Just in
No,
case
not at
we
all.
get some
I
questions
think I'll have
on it.
Colleen type it because my handwriting isn't together.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none. Motion to receive report carries. Item number 6, consideration to make a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution accepting Dreamview Estates.
Bye.
I apologize. Item number 5, receive report from staff regarding statutory options available for delivery of utility-related services. Mark or Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be brief. This was a follow-up to a request Shannon had in mainly dealing with sewer issues, and it was forward-thinking in that if looking ahead, depending on what comes back as we continue to study the sewer issues, specifically the municipal extension type issues, there could be any number of options for how you would structure areas or districts or service areas. And if we needed any kind of enabling legislation to do that, this would be the time to do it. And so we went ahead and put that on the agenda just to kind of bring that up and let you know. And Mr. Smith, of course, helped us out and looked at it. We met with Shannon earlier. We feel like the laws, as they stand today, there's actually statutes that would allow pretty much any kind of configuration you would need for that. And so we really don't feel like there's any action, but it's something that we have reviewed. If there is something needed, obviously later, you could submit it each year, but we feel like it's not needed. But it's a good question, and I think it's something that if we had, that this would be the time to do it. But if Alan or Mark wants to add anything to that, we can. But we really don't need any action unless Shannon wants to bring up the issue. Did I cover that adequately? Or?
Go ahead, Mr. Spell.
I met with them, and I was in agreement. We went over the statutes, and I read the same thing they read, and I would concur with Mr. Beam's assessment, so I'm thankful that they went over it and looked into it, and appreciate them reporting it to the jury this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Spell. Need a motion to receive report? Moved by Mr. Andropont, second by Mr. Guidry. Receive report. Now we're on 6. Item number 6, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution accepting Dreamview Estates Part 1 subdivision located off of North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Spell, second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Mr. Spell.
Mr. Vickers, I missed this one. Could you kind of go over this? We have some other interest off of North Perkins as far as some drainage right away. Like to make sure this is not involved or needs to be considered.
It's not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carried. Item number 7, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution accepting La Ferme Park Part 1 Phase 2 subdivision located off of West Dietrich Loop in Ward 3. I have a motion by Mr. Scott, a second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion?
That's President Guidry, sir.
Apologize, President Guidry. Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 8, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution accepting Highland Forest Subdivision Part 2, Phase 3, Part A, located off of Forest Way Road in Ward 4. I have a motion by Ms. Griffin, second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Any objection?
Discussion.
I apologize.
That's all right. May I have the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vickers, give me an update on what's going on. I'm not familiar with this.
Well, this is basically a subdivision that has had numerous phases, and this is just another phase.
The same one that we've been working on occasionally? That's
Yes,
been
ma'am.
coming
It is, and I mean, we've developed this. It's been developing over years. And so it's just a continuation of another. It's all single-family, residential, nice housing.
They just keep adding on.
Yes, ma'am.
Where at, Jimmy?
Trying to think of the name of the road right now. It's
I know where Forest
the
Way-
road is just north. It's north of Baghdad Road. I'm trying to. It's Mims Road off of Mims.
Oh, okay. I was back there during the week. They are building up back
Yeah,
there, last week, rather.
It's a nice development.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 9, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to approval of the cooperative endeavor agreements between the Police Jury and Gravity Drainage District Number 4 of Ward 3.
Move on 9 and both bullets.
9.1, adopt a resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement which will provide for the police jury to provide financial assistance in the amount of $71,500 to Drainage District for the Drew Street Flora Drive drainage outfall to lateral L3 W6 improvements. 9.2, adopt a resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement which will provide for the police jury to provide for financial assistance in the amount of $38,500 to the Drainage District for the Scarborough drainage outfall. I have a motion by Mr. McMillan, second by Mr. Brame. Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries on both bullets. Item number 10, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution authorizing the president of the jury to execute the necessary documents for acquisition of right-of-way from Zelda Ray Chamberlain Loftus on Uwin Road in Ward 1. I have a motion by Mr. Collins, a second by Mr. Sias. Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item 10 carries. Item 11, Consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving a contract
On 11.
for engineering services between the police jury and C.H. Finstermaker and Associates for the services related to a review of the Calcasieu Parish's drainage ordinances. I have a motion by Mr. Spell and a second by Mr. Stelly. Any discussion? Ms. Griffin.
Question, thank you. Is it Mr. Smart or Mr. Wainwright? Mr. Wainwright, why are we getting another engineering firm to review?
This was, Ms. Griffin, this was always a part of the original proposed scope when we got into the stormwater master planning effort. It's a small thing, and now that we're getting toward the end, and we're hoping to finish this year with all the studies, we had anticipated that we would have ordinances, but they may not be totally in sync with what the studies predicted, simply because they came a lot earlier. We've asked for a review from this firm who's done the majority of your studies for you, and this little project will also create some sample documents that we will be able to give out to engineers, architects, developers that they'll be able to use in developing in our area. So it's a very small piece, but it's something that we want to do. Felt like it was critical from the beginning, and kind of indicates that we're getting closer and closer to the end.
So the study was completed and they're going to review?
This is just a review of our existing drainage ordinances.
Okay.
If you might, we had updated those about 18 months ago, maybe two years now, and we want to make sure that those are going to perform like we're going to need them to perform now that the studies are coming in
Okay.
and help us manage.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Any other discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item 11 carries. We do have two additional items. Item number 12, receive a report from staff in regard to C&D landfills. Mr. McMurray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DEQ approached us some time back. There are, as I think y'all know, because they've come before you before, there are 4 and now, as of this week, 5 C&D debris sites that's construction debris sites that have gone through the process locally, both from the Planning Commission approval level as well as the police jury approval level. And DEQ has taken the position with us that they felt like that we had the available capacity in the parish now without any of these sites being permitted. And Jimmy and I have met with them. We've met with some of y'all, and I think it's a general consensus of the jurors that we've met with as well as the staff that we do not have. We disagree with them. We do not have the capacity that we think we need, particularly in light of the fact that the uncertainty as to future storms and what happens with these sites in the aftermath of a storm. And so they've asked for us to put in writing to them what our suggestion is, and in the conversations we've had with members of the jury about this, the general feeling is that we have gone through the zoning process, the land use process of these things. It's cleared in all 5 of these sites that are up for consideration by DEQ have cleared your processes at the Planning Commission and the police jury for land use. We think that we should suggest to them that they permit all those sites. But our suggestion and the recommendation is not to stop there. It's to say, don't accept any more applications. Don't solicit them and don't accept any more. When people start applying for these things, there could be a significant amount of dollars that goes into the planning process by a contractor, and if they're intent on not approving any more sites, we shouldn't have our business people here putting the kind of money it takes to make that application process. So our recommendation, and I think this comes from some members of the jury that met with us as well, that we recommend to them that they permit all 5 of these remaining sites that have already gone through our process locally, and that they discontinue soliciting or receiving any applications in the future until further notice by any additional applicants. We have to try to answer any questions. Yeah, I guess our request is that either a letter or resolution from the police chief to that effect, we'd be authorized to send that to DEQ.
First of all, I'd like to
Receive report.
motion to receive report.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sias, second by Mr. Andropont. Ms. Griffin.
Thank you. Mark, all 5 of the sites, are they up and functioning? How many do we have that's functioning?
We have 5 sites that are currently permitted in the parish. 3 of those sites are permitted for general C&D waste. Public can bring them in. 2 of them are permitted for those companies' waste stream only. That's correct, Jim?
That's correct.
And so there are 5 additional sites. One has very large capacity available to it. The other 4 are much smaller capacities. But they have all these ones that are in the application stage right now that have not been approved for use by DEQ have all at least cleared both the Planning Commission and this police jury as far as location of those sites.
Do you know if the one that was approved for David, is it up and running?
It is one of those 5 that needs the permit from the state to be able to, and that would be one of the 5 that you would be, if you adopt this resolution, that would be one of the 5 you would be recommending for them to permit.
Okay, thank you. Because it's been a long time when that was approved. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Mr. Andropont.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Foremost, I think a resolution would be more appropriate than a letter, so I'm going to put that in the form of a motion. Secondly, not going to put any words in anyone's mouth, but don't you think it would be maybe more effective to see eyeball to eyeball with these people rather than just mail a resolution, or were you planning to bring it?
Well, we have met with them. They came in to tell us they were going to turn them all down, and we said, well, they said that we feel like they said they feel like that we have enough capacity in the existing sites, and we were kind of like, whoa. We said we really disagreed with that, and so they said, well, then put in writing what it is you think you need to do. So we've talked to them several times. I've talked to Mr. Phillips, who is administrator of waste permits for DEQ. Jimmy's had several conversations with him. I think they're just expecting something in writing. Now, what they do with that is anybody's guess, but our plan was to send them a certified resolution, and you're right, that would carry more weight than just a letter, would be to put that in front of them and see what happens.
I don't want to sound negative, but it seems to me like I think we know our business here in Calcasieu Parish better than someone else somewhere else, and that's just strictly my opinion, and I don't want to turn anybody off and say, well, this was said, that was said. All I'm saying it in a positive manner that we do know what we need here, I think. And I rest my case, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Andropont. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, if we were to, without having any natural disasters, if they did permit all 5 of these, how many years out can we say we wouldn't have to look at opening anymore? Just 20, 25?
A couple of the sites that are awaiting, that are in the application stage, have 120 months, 10 years, if they were to be permitted. 2 of them have 180 months, so 15 years. The ones that we currently have today that are permitted, there's one at 15 years, there's another at 10 years. There's 2 that are for their waste only. They don't accept it, so it's hard to really even count those. And then there's another one at 10 years. One thing I forgot to mention is that 2 of the sites that are open, that right now are in the application stage yet to be approved by DEQ, both being McManus sites, one in Carlos and one at Evergreen near Mossville. Those 2 sites are being, the request by the applicant is for them to be available for their waste only. But what we would ask, I think, is that if they're permitted for their waste only, we would ask DEQ to make as part of their permit request that they would have to open it up in the event of a declared disaster or in the aftermath of a storm, that they would have to expand and allow other waste to come in there.
All right, thank you. My last question would be, say they decide to meet us down the middle of the road and only want to open 3 of them. Who's going to make the decision on which 3 get open? Would it be them? Or would it come back here and we decide? I don't know.
Well, the resolution would not be picking and choosing between them. Y'all have the ability to do that if you want to do that. Our feeling was let's let them pick those cards out of the deck.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion to receive report carries. Now we have another motion on the floor by Mr. Andropont. Would you restate the motion to make it a
We adopt a resolution in support of opening the 5 said C and D landfills.
We already have a second by Mr. Brame. Any discussion?
Could that include requesting that they accept no more applications?
Yeah. That also includes not to accept any more applications in the resolution.
Mr. Brame?
I'll second that.
Okay, it was just a second.
Oh, no, I didn't have any discussion.
Oh, I got a question.
Mr. Farnham?
When these guys estimate the time to fill each of these sites, is one contingent on the other? Obviously, if there's only one site in the parish, then it would, they could estimate how long it's going to take. But if there's 5 of them permitted, do they blend those numbers together somehow, or?
I don't know. I don't have a great deal of confidence in their formula system, to tell you the truth, but I don't know how they do that.
It's probably not factored in at all. They probably just estimate what they think they can do at that particular site. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farnham. Any further discussion? Mr. Landry?
Jimmy, on a site like that, let's say the guy it's a 10-year deal, and I don't know how many years, but if he had a hurricane, I mean, he may fill it up in, a year? I mean, wouldn't that be possible?
Well, I think it would depend on the extent of the damage that we have.
No,
If we had a severe hurricane, I mean, it could probably be filled up fairly quickly.
And that's what happened the last time. I mean, there just wasn't any place to put it. So, I mean, even with those 5, that might not last very long if that happens.
That really forms the basis of this resolution, is that, that there's so much uncertainty as when a storm's going to hit. Why leave ourselves? We've got some sites that you've permitted in terms of a site location. Why put ourselves in a position of having to scramble if we have another disaster? Why not have that ability to
Well, I would think the more places to haul, the better that the price is going to be to the consumer. I would think.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Landry. Mr. Stelling?
The actual power that they get, or I don't know, who gave them the power to decide how much capacity we have to have? Where does that come from? Is that legislatures that, who aren't, instead of us deciding how much capacity we need, I think their job should be to decide that the sites that are picked are desired for a landfill. If you follow what I'm saying. So where does the actual power come from that they decide how much capacity we have to have?
A couple of acts were passed, one in 2006, one in 2008, by the legislature that gave them, as I read this, the authority to do this and told them the parameters in which they will do it. It deals with solid waste capacity, and this is a copy of that state act.
You just happen to have that, or you knew I was going to ask? Or? So, in other words, that's something that if we feel that needs to go back into our decision-making, then we would go back to the legislators and ask them to revise that or just do away with it, or is that something that... Yeah. And what brought that about? I mean, in your opinion, what just made them decide all of a sudden that they should decide the capacities of a given parish anywhere in the state?
I can only read your mind up to some level, Mr. Stelly, and I don't know the answer to that one. I don't know what brought it.
I mean, is that just
I mean, it
something
could
that
have been-
because there was too many landfills in
It could
center
have been
parishes?
proliferation. When they came in here, they said, they said, look, we don't think you need any more capacity. Calcasieu Parish has five of the 30 some odd C&D landfills in the state of Louisiana. We said, well, we're on the coast, okay? We got a lot of damage from storms. Why is that all that unusual, particularly in light of the fact that in the 5-parish area, the only other landfill that can accept this material in the 5-parish area, other than the 5 that they permit in Calcasieu, is the Jeff Davis landfill. Beauregard has none, Allen has none, Cameron has none. So, we're actually serving more area than just Calcasieu Parish, which I think is what the state would want, there to be that kind of reciprocity there. So,
Can we not offer a resolution or a letter to our local delegation asking them to review this and see what the possibilities are of putting it back to our local government as opposed to them deciding?
I think you can. If I could anticipate what might have brought this about would be the idea that maybe we don't really need a C&D landfill on every corner.
Well, and that's
there
true.
Could be. Now, capitalism being what it is, maybe the strong survive. Those that offer the best service at the best price can survive. Everybody else goes broke. But in the meantime, you would have C&D landfills located a lot of different places, and the landscape could change in not a very positive way. So maybe that was why.
And you could also have them in place already for if you need them. Then you don't have to go through the bureaucracy to get them opened up in case of another hurricane. It would already be set in place. So I'd just like to maybe make a recommendation that we do contact our local delegation and see what the possibilities are of them reviewing that, to put it back into the hands of where it belongs in the local government as opposed to Baton Rouge.
If you'd want to make a motion.
I would like to make a
request that
motion.
we send a letter to our delegation asking them to look into the genesis of this law and why it. Okay.
We have a motion on the floor, Mr. Stelly.
That is my motion.
Wait, we have a motion on the floor. I'll come right back to that. Do we have any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Stelly?
My motion would be to contact the local delegation or send them a letter asking them to look at the possibilities of us deciding how much capacity we need as opposed to in the state government.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Sias. Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 13. We have Mr. Glenn Robert Bolton, who would like to speak on a condemnation at 171 Southside Street. Mr. Bolton, come on up, but what I'd like to do is ask Mr. Robinson to come up and just update the jury on what exactly this situation is. It's a committee.
Okay. Well, my name is Robert Glenn Bolton.
The jury condemned this mobile home approximately 30 days ago at 171 Southside Street. This structure came up for condemnation back in November, and Mr. Hassan did speak to Mr. Bolton's mother, and she indicated to him that she was going to remove the structure, and there were some things in there that she wanted to say, but she was going to remove the structure. And so we then deferred this for 60 days to let them go ahead and empty out the contents of this structure and have it removed. We did go back and re-inspect it, and nothing had been done. I spoke to Mr. Hassan. He requested that we put it back on the agenda. We did condemn the structure, and So now Mr. Bolton is requesting that he would like to try to save the structure, and he just gave me tonight a breakdown of what it would cost to repair it. We would probably want to send some of our building inspectors out to take a look at it also, but the structure is in pretty rough condition. It's in bad shape, and so Mr. Bolton would like to try to save it. So I'll go ahead and let him talk to you.
My name's Robert Glenn Bolton. I reside at 171 Southside Street in Sulphur. And I'd like to thank Mr. Hassan for letting me speak and the police jury and present my case based on the regards that, well, with my regards to you, Mr. Bean. Which one is he, Mr. Bean? I'm not sure. Is Mr. Bean in? Yeah, because I've been watching the show, so I understand now that y'all have had a little problem with transparency, but y'all have worked it out now, and Mr. Murray has straightened this out. So I thought this would probably be the best time that I could come before my elected officials to understand how the process works. And under the Constitution, I know we're given the right to speak of the free of our voice. So I only come to you today to ask that I be given maybe the opportunity to have a second chance. I know my mother has maybe a little bit of Alzheimer's, but I'm not going to say for sure. She kind of forgets things, and one minute she doesn't want to spend money, and the next minute she goes, well, I would like to spend the money to keep it rather than have to take all the stuff out, and the yard's being all messed up, and it's wet, it's rain. You know, as we know, it's rained and rained and rained. We didn't get a hurricane, but we got a lot of rain this year. And so our yard in Carlos seems to be a bog, or I notice other people's yards seem to be solid. But I didn't cut the grass for the purpose of actually being able to walk on it, but a vehicle would sink. So what I'm virtually asking for is to Mr. Borrell of Mike's Home Improvement has came by. He went through it. He said, you know, it's kind of messy. You know, you hadn't kept it up, and that hurts you. But at the same time, he says it's a early 70 office trailer, which we bought from this refinery, Sidco refinery. And he believes he could bring it back to standard for around $3,100, give or take $200. You know, not to live in, but at the time we've had it as a sort of storage and office. It have electricity to it, but it's not up to code, so it could be changed to bring it up to code, or like he said, just dismantle the electricity where we won't have a problem with the code enforcement. And being the weather like it is, we've had a on and off rain, and I don't think he could even get his truck in there. Matter of fact, whenever he walked in there, he says, golly, you know, your ground's like mush. So anyway, rather than take up a lot of y'all's time, my mom's 78 years old, and she's probably got a spot on her lung and may have lung cancer, but, you know, a lot of us go ahead and smoke anyway. So what, you know, if you live, you live, you die, you die. And if y'all would give me a chance to give an effort to bring this mobile home back to standard, which to most people it's not very important, but it has a lot of sentimental value to my family, which we have a lot of heirlooms in there, and little things, and it would be worth $3,100, $3,200 just to keep it, but bring it up to where it doesn't look like something shabby and all raggedy. You know, I understand, because I was very depressed for a long time here when I saw the destruction we had, and I got to admit, this jury has I've got people on the ball, and they've made people do what they need to do to get it back in order. So I'm happy with that, and I ask y'all to give me at least a little maybe time for the weather to dry. I don't want to say days, because I understand Mr. He understand days is kind of hard to say. We may have a wet May, we may have a wet April, and a wet March, but we don't know. But I want to start working on it immediately from the inside, and then get it leveled at least, and give the jury a chance to come back with a person.
Mr. Bolton, we have a couple of jurors that would like to
Okay.
discuss. Mr. Farnham.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion at this time that we suspend the condemnation action until the February 18th meeting
Okay.
while you present the papers to our planning and zoning board
Okay.
to proceed with making some modifications to your property.
Okay, Mr. Forum.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Guidry? Yes. We have a second by Mr. Guidry. President Guidry.
President Guidry.
Do we have any further discussion? Mr. Andropont? You're done? Okay. Any further discussion? Any objection? Oh, Mr. Landry.
Yeah, I got a question. What do y'all recommend? I want to know what your recommendation is.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think-
it's already condemned. This is, I don't understand why we're doing this again.
Well, I think that at least give this gentleman a second shot, and we can see. We'll go back out there. We'll see what he's got on his list and see if it's a doable thing. I hate to see him spend good money after bad, but I mean, a few more days, as wet as it is right now, I don't think we can really do anything in terms of if we did have to demolish it. So I think that we can give him a little bit more time and then try to look at his list and maybe talk to the person that he's employed to do this, to make sure he's certified to do it, and then we'll go from there and come back with a recommendation on the 18th.
I guess I won't object to it, but I mean, if he gets a chance, rain or not, they're going to put down a boardwalk or something, be able to get in there and get that work done. Because I mean, it can't go on forever.
Right.
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Mr. Scott?
Mr. Vickers, he mentioned that he wanted to just bring it up to where he could keep using it for storage. Is there a difference between living in it and storing it as far as when y'all go out and inspect it?
Yes, there is.
All right, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor to suspend the condemnation until our February 18th meeting, giving Mr. Bolton time to submit everything and our staff time to look at it. Ms. Griffin?
I do have a question. Do you think that February the 18th would be enough of time?
Well, let's hope it would be with the rain. I'm hoping that.
Okay, thank you.
So.
And so if it's not enough of time and he has started work on doing the repairs that he's supposed to do, will he be able to come back again and get an extension? That is my question to whoever should answer it.
Well, I think our first thing would be to see if we can permit it.
Okay.
In other words, if it's gone, we're going to have to look under it and see that it's structurally sound and so forth. If we determine that we could permit it, then that would allow him to do so, and then we would just come back just saying that he's authorized to repair it.
Okay, so you all will be working closely with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Do we have any other discussion? If I can just comment on it, this is merely to make our decision at the 18th meeting. This is just giving them time to, this is more for Mr. Bolton. It's not necessarily saying start work on it tomorrow.
Right.
At that February 18th meeting, we will make a decision there
Okay.
to either continue with the condemnation or to suspend it for a period of time that staff recommends that would be adequate for you to get the structure fixed.
Well, I appreciate that very much.
Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Bolton.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Meeting is adjourned.
Eileen, where's Mark?
Hey, Mick.
At my age, I don't guarantee nothing. We will now call the Agenda Committee meeting to order for Thursday, January 28, 2010. The purpose of today's committee meeting is to formulate an agenda for the regular meeting of the Police Jury February 4, 2010. A proposed agenda follows. The chair will ask for a motion to pull items 27 through 29. Have a motion by Ms. Griffin. Second by whom? Mr. Guidry?
President Guidry.
Before we pull those items, the chair will address Mr. McMurray on item 21. Mr. McMurray.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We need to withdraw this from the agenda. This grant, we've had trouble getting what we needed, the assurance we needed from the Department of Natural Resources that we were an eligible applicant for this, and we couldn't get their confirmation of it. So as of late this afternoon, we tried and we just couldn't get it. So we would like to withdraw item number 21 from the agenda.
Chair will entertain a motion to withdraw. Moved by Mr. Scott.
Second.
Second by Mr. Landry. Is there any opposition? Motion carries. Item 27, take appropriate action on the expiration term of Mr. Roy Arant as a member of the Board of Commissioners, Ward 6 Fire Protection. Motion to do what, Ms. Trimmy?
Reappoint.
To reappoint. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stelly. Is there any opposition to the motion? Motion carries. Item 28, take appropriate action of expiration of Mr. Alan Smith. Moved by Mr. Scott to reappoint. Second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any opposition? Motion carries. Item 29, take appropriate action on the expiration date term of Mr. Dennis Sayers as a member of the Board of the Commissioners of Waterworks District Number 14, Ward 5. Mrs. Trimmy.
Yes, sir. I have been. I know who I want to appoint. His name is Greg Gillis, Gillis, and I have missed him on between the cell phone, his home phone, and everything. He works in like Orange, Port Arthur, like at one of those big plants.
You want to defer action?
No, I want to appoint him,
Okay.
and then I'll get all the information. He's already told most of the members that he would like to. So okay. I'd like to go ahead and appoint him. Then I'll just call him and tell him I appointed him.
Okay. Who made the second? Did we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Griffin seconded the motion. Is there any opposition to the motion? Mr. Smith.
May I have a point of personal privilege?
Yes, you may.
I just want to thank everybody on the police jury for appointing me again. This will be my 4th term. It's been a really enjoyable thing for me to do. We have a wonderful board out there. We don't have dissension, and we try to work for the people of this parish and for this area. And as you know, our crowning achievement has been the opening of our new airport and the securing of a second airline this year. So thank you all for not clipping my wings while we're flying high. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
For doing that.
A point of personal privilege, Mr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess, what was that, 6 or 8 weeks ago, we got a report from the Corps, and they had some suggestions on, I think it was 5 or 6 projects, at the, mostly culverts being undersized, an estimated $500,000 to have that corrected. I believe most of them were in the South Lake Charles area. I don't know if it was all in one watershed or possibly in more than one. And I was just wanting to see where were we on that, because there was some discussion. Mr. Scott had made the comment that we really didn't want to wait to go through that process over, I mean, that is a lot of money, but to wait 3 years to do it for the results, I think the return on the investment was very good. I'm just wondering, can we do something about that or get the ball rolling? And possibly a cost share with the Gravity Drainage District?
Mr. Landry, I would have to get back with you with that answer. I don't want to tell you exactly wrong, Claude, and I would need to talk about that and get back with you.
Maybe at the next,
I can
next
call
end
you.
of the month,
I
possibly.
can call you, or we can come back to this committee if you'd like, whichever way you'd like it.
That's fine. Just let's.
Just put an item on the agenda.
Yeah, let's.
for next week.
Okay.
Report.
Okay.
Sir.
Good. That's what we'll do. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Landry, we have a second by Mr. Scott. Is there any opposition to the motion?
Discussion.
Motion carries. Mr. Hassan?
I had discussion on that motion, but along the same lines from that report was well, the whole reason they couldn't do the report was because of contamination on Shoe Peak Bayou, which many of us question what contamination is there, and they were supposed to be getting that data to y'all. Have y'all gotten that?
I do recall as the last correspondence email, which may have been as a week to 2 weeks ago, they have not found that document and are proceeding with some of the steps that they had sort of stopped at because of the environmental aspect. So I can include that information if you'd like, or same thing, call you directly. But last correspondence was they have not turned up.
I would like that included as the report to the jury as to why after 4 years and a couple of $1 million, they stopped and they cannot give us an explanation as to why, or our money back.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mine again. Thank you.
Mr. Landry?
I think they told us why they stopped. So you're telling me that they stood up here and told us that there was pollution in that in Shoe Peak Bayou, and they don't have anything to back it up? Which we did question it, because where would it come from? Nobody really knew what the source would be. So now they can't produce the document?
I think that was their answer. Is
That's unbelievable.
looked under some rocks and couldn't find the document or something. I don't know. So I think they went back, started back on working on it, didn't they?
That's my recollection, Mark, and
That's unbelievable.
We'll bring the email. I think it was an email, I
Yes.
believe, that came. We'll have that as part of the report next week.
No wonder the levees in New Orleans have so many problems.
Done? Mr. Scott?
I know when Ellis just mentioned getting some money back, you said good luck, Mr. Smith, but do we have some kind of recourse, a lawsuit or something? I mean, if they really can't produce anything standing up here and saying what they said, I mean, that's ridiculous.
I'd like to, if I could, not to defend the Corps in any means, but just to reiterate and remind y'all that
Please don't.
a big part of those projects were to develop the computer models that were to help determine whether projects would have impact. And it's the same modeling that we're doing in our other efforts, and we're in fact extending these computer models so that they are delivering all those things. What has become a problem is fundable projects through the Corps of Engineers, and by their definitions and meeting economic cost-benefit analysis and things like that, you know, all the little hoops that you have to go through to get a Corps of Engineers project. We will take delivery. We have taken delivery of some of the work that was done. It is still good work, and still will be used for years in managing your water systems in the parish. But I know we all got into this wanting some projects, and that's where we're at today. Yes.
So we do have something in the Shoe Peak area as far as water flowing, drainage, something to actually be used.
We've developed computer models that help us manage that and to analyze whether other projects, change a culvert out here or dig a ditch or enlarge do retention in an area that, you know, as new development comes in. We can look at endless alternatives, and we can fund or look for other funding sources for other projects. There's nothing that precludes that. We were, in a lot of ways, got into this because the size and the scale and the scope of the projects that we were needing to do, that we all wanted to do around Shoe Peak, Bayou Den. Reality is they're probably going to require Corps assistance, Corps type funding and going through their programs to succeed with those projects. And so we started down that trail with a lot of that in mind. And we've hit these snags.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Guidry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there some studies done a year or two prior to them coming in and doing the studies that they did that didn't show any contamination on the studies prior to them taking the studies that they did? So,
On Shupik Bayou?
yeah. Didn't,
I
wasn't
don't-
there some
I don't
kind
know.
of...
We just had never, it was, I know that when he made the comments that night before the jury, I mean, everybody knew we had contamination in Bayou Den, but when he said that at Shupik Bayou, I know I did a double take, and I think some of y'all did too. That was a complete surprise to us. Now, I don't know.
So we don't have any actual proof, Mark, that that was studies done prior to them doing their studies that showed no contamination in Shupik Bayou.
But we also had not had really any reason to believe that there was.
Right. That's the whole reason. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else wants to be addressed? Mr. Hassan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to sound like a broken record here. We had a contract and a scope of work that needed to be done, correct? I asked the question that night, and they did confirm that only about 1/3 of that scope of work was actually performed. You just mentioned Bayou Den. They knew going into it that Bayou Den had contamination. They began the project only to stop it, and then did the same thing with Shupik Bayou. I agree with Mr. Scott. It seems like we have some recourse here. If we had a contract, there was a scope of work, and only 1/3 of the work was done. Go right ahead.
I'm kind of like Alan. I don't want to be too defensive about for the Corps here, but on the Bayou Den situation, we had a couple of parallel things that were running together here. You had the Estuary Task Force that was dealing with the potential for Superfund designation on the estuary because of contamination in Bayou Verdine and Bayou Den primarily. The industries around Bayou Den, they call the Bayou Den Group, had come up with a plan for remediation of the contamination there, and it included putting some kind of mats, concrete mats, actually capping the contamination, not dredging it out, but capping it. The concern of the Ward 4 Drainage Board and our concern was that, well, that may be all well and good for the contamination there in terms of capping it and qualifying under some remediation plan. But if that was going to impact the drainage from Sulphur into Bayou Den and out to the ship channel, well, let's don't solve one problem and create a bigger one. And so we asked the Corps specifically to take the modeling that was being done by this remediation group and take a look at that and comment on whether or not that was going to impact the drainage. So that was part of the important part of what they did on the Bayou Den thing. Is that consistent with your understanding? So part of that was really a little bit of an expansion of the scope because that wasn't something they were going to be studying, is having to study the remediation plan, the engineering that went along with the remediation plan. It wasn't part of their initial scope to do that. That was something we put on them additionally on top of what they were doing. Now, as far as the rest of it, Ellis, I don't really remember how Bayou Den was playing into the rest of that scope. I just don't remember.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Mr. Spell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if my memory is incorrect, someone please correct me here, but my memory is that they actually looked at this and made the decision midstream without letting anyone know that they were going to cut off that part of the study, and just told us about it matter-of-factly later. My question or concern is, did that affect the amount of deliverables within the model. I mean, they didn't cut off a piece of the model. They fully developed the model that we will use for our purposes. Would that be correct, or?
Yes, sir. All the models in the laterals and around some of the pump stations in the Lake Charles area were all completed. Best I understand or recall, and without going back to our notes, we failed to read everybody's minds tonight on this one, but without going back to our notes, all the models are complete. They're working. They just didn't generate the results in terms of projects in meeting core cost-benefit analysis. And so those projects in terms of funding through core operations sort of die on their vine. But you still have very good, high-quality computer models that are going to be useful for a long time. So yes, sir.
Personal opinion, I think it would have been courteous for them to at least give us a little notice that they didn't find any value because of contamination, but I just wanted to confirm that they didn't cut off part of the deliverables with that decision either, but I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Spell. Mr. Guidry?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I thought you needed to address the chair.
President Guidry.
Is there any other? Mr. Hassan?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's all right.
Alan, you just mentioned that they did submit. Did they submit models for any of the Shupik Bayou area?
Actually, those models, yes, sir. Those models are complete. That part is done. What they extended are now going back, if we're recalling this correctly, is they're going back now and they are digging deeper into cost-benefit analysis for that area in light of not being able to generate an environmental document that stopped them. That's when they showed up here. They had, well, there's an environmental issue, so we're stopping. They have not generated that document, so they have started back their process of checking cost-benefit analysis of what the models show on the work that they had, the alternatives that they had run. We do not know the results of that yet. That's part of that's where they're at on that particular basin. But the work, all the survey work, the models have been delivered and they're up and running.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Are there any other comments? Any more questions? Any other business come before the committee? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. And motion and a second to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.